All right, Sky Squad, we are back in the building with another video, another recap, and we are here discussing Married to Medicine Season 9, Episode 7, Secrets and Sinners. In the chatterization down below, let us know if you happen to catch this episode and give me your raterization. Okay, so for those of you guys who are new to the channel, what we do is we rate the episode on a scale of 1 to 10 before we dive in. And for me, I'm going to rate this episode an 8. I felt like this episode was probably more fun than anything else. We did get some resolution, which I think 7 episodes in, I think is about time. I felt like it all felt genuine. And now I'm left to wonder, what else do we have that's going on for the rest of the season? Now, we have gotten a mid-season trailer, so this does feel like the appropriate midpoint, which tells me that we're probably going to get about 14 episodes or so, or maybe 12. I'm not necessarily sure, but we will find out soon enough. I would say 14 is probably the safe amount to think about. So it looks like we have probably about 7 more weeks of this. The other portion of this is just a little bit concerning for me, especially with regards to some things that Toya said in this video. And we're going to talk about them at length in just a minute. So get ready, because I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Now, with that being said, let's stage dive into the episode because we want to get right into the business. Okay. Now, we are back in Vegas, and the group is really wondering how they are going to get Heavenly and Contessa back on the same page. Quad feels like they were both in the wrong. Quad feels like Dr. Heavenly is wrong for talking about the ladies on her YouTube. And she feels like Dr. Contessa, Toya, and Simone were also wrong for ambushing Dr. Heavenly in the way that they did, because it really wasn't going to be conducive to having a productive conversation to get them to get her to realize that she is hurting their feelings. At dinner, Dr. Contessa does apologize to the group for her part in the argument earlier, and Heavenly just sort of sits there and looks, and Toya is like, I'm not surprised, okay? Now, Dr. Simone is ready to ask some messy questions, and is it just me, or is Dr. Simone always leading the messy questions within the group, okay? And, all of this is in preparation for her and Cecil's uh, couples therapy-esque style book. I do believe that they are probably in a very good position to write a book about marriage, seeing how we've gotten the flashbacks of how literally this show and the women and the couples on this show really rallied around Cecil and Simone in a previous season to help them get their marriage back on track, and we are glad to see that. So I do feel like Simone is able to write this sort of book and to tell the tale, and a cautionary one at that, about how to make a long-lasting marriage work. Now, with regards to these messy questions, let me give you guys a couple of examples, okay? The game is called Spill the Tea, and of course, the first question is about the SEX. I am just, as I've stated to you guys before, I am so not interested in hearing about any of these couples and their intimate lives when it comes to what they are doing in the bedroom. I'm just not. And maybe those conversations aren't for me. Maybe they're more for, I don't know, ladies who are watching the shows. Is this something of interest to you? And I want to ask you guys as viewers, are you talking about your intimate relations with your spouse, with your girlfriends, or your guy friends? For me, I'm just not having those conversations. I might have been more, I might have been having those conversations when I was single, but honestly, I don't feel like I was that much. But especially, I think in a relationship or in a marriage, I just don't see the need to have those types of conversations, because I feel like that's between you and your bae, you and your boo. What y'all do is between y'all. We adults. Why are we talking about this? But anyway, I guess maybe if you're getting advice, you know what I'm saying? Maybe then. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. And I feel like some of these shows, they always talking about it. Like we have talked about the sex on this show a lot for some reason this season. Anyway, Dr. Heavenly's question is there problems when the woman is the breadwinner in the house? For Heavenly, she feels like the breadwinner has to be the man, and Toya, for some reason, sees it differently, which is ironic because it is seemingly Eugene that is the breadwinner in her household. But I say seemingly because I'm assuming that, Toya is bringing in income as well. I just don't think we see a lot of her business endeavors, and I don't think that we should discount the salary that she makes from this show. But I don't know if it equates to what Doctor what Eugene is making. I really don't know. It just would depend because she has been on the show for a long time. And I'm not really trying to count their pockets anyway, but I just found it interesting that it was she and Dr. Heavenly who were kind of having this back and forth about it. The question comes up about, can your husband have female friends? Simone, who has been in this situation, says yes, but there are some boundaries that have to be put in place. And as long as people respect the boundaries, it's okay. But for her, Cecil had an issue because he was a people pleaser. And so those boundaries became blurred. Dr. Contessa's question is, what are symptoms of a dysfunctional marriage? And I felt like this question was planted specifically for her for some reason. Um, she basically says that it's not the same for everyone, and she now believes that everyone's opinions should not be in her head. Okay. Um, I do agree with that too. For me, I feel like if you are having marital problems, I mean, maybe it's okay to seek counseling from a couple who has been married longer. But I also think that there's probably something to be said for maybe seeking like couples therapy versus having these conversations with your friends, because then your friends become part of that story, whether you like it or not. And I just don't think that it's healthy because then the friends inevitably, um, I just think that it creates some unhealthy boundaries, some unhealthy blurred boundaries, I would say. But that's just my opinion. You guys can let me know what you think down below. Meanwhile, Audra has a question. She says, what were you most surprised about when you first got married? And so Toya says that his clunker was not going to get any bigger. And the group just kind of bursts out laughing. Now, this is problematic for me because I think that Toya, in not thinking, was trying to make the point that this is the last clunker that you will ever clunk, right? That's the realization. But in saying it and phrasing it the way that she framed it, she makes it sound as though the clunker is minuscule. Okay? Small. Too small for her. That thing ain't thinging. That's the way she's making this. That's the way it's going to be perceived, right? And even Anila in her confessional is like, girl, I mean, and she's trying to tell her in real time, like, don't say that. That's bad, right? And the other ladies are going to ridicule her later for this when they get into the limousine because they basically let her know that she's saying that their perception of what she's saying is that her husband's thing ain't thinging. Okay. Now, I just feel like as comfortable as you may feel with your girlfriends, Toya, this is not the thing that you ever want to say because again, the perception of what you're saying is always going to be that the clunker is minuscule or at least too minuscule for you. Okay. So I definitely, if I'm Eugene, I'm not pleased with her response with that because, again, no one who is in that relationship, well, no one who is outside of that relationship should know anything about what the clunker is like. Okay, personally, that's my belief, right? Because if you talk about how that thing is thangin', people might be curious about it. But if you talk about how that thing ain't thingin', now they gonna joke him about it. Okay. And they did joke about it later. And I just feel like it was kind of disrespectful to me. But you guys let me know what you think. And the reason I feel like I feel comfortable in my stance on this is also because later they joke her about it. And I even think that Dr. Heavenly kind of mentioned on her channel that she tried to stop Toya from going there, but Toya went there anyway. So maybe she was just trying to make a moment, but it was a moment that was made at the expense of her hard working husband. Okay. And that's the other thing about this that is so troublesome to me, that she so cavalierly mentioned that, and also later mentioned that when they played the game of if you could swap husbands, whose would you swap for? And immediately Toya says Kiran because she feels like Kira's thing is thinging, like that clunker is clunking. So it is equally as bad because Kiran just barely got on the good foot with Eugene, and now to hear that your wife thinks that Kieran's clonker is clonking, I mean, imagine how that makes the hardworking Eugene feel. And Eugene just told us that he feels like he's walking through mud and trying to figure out his life. Now you got his well relaxed wife, okay, going on and on about the shower head, about uh Kieran's clunker and how it she thinks is clunking, and how the insinuation that her own husband's clunker ain't clunking. I just feel justice for Eugene. Okay. Justice for Eugene. This man got to move all around town. This man is working himself into the ground. Meanwhile, Toya is out here talking about what somebody else's clunker might how it might be clunking, okay? And she's surprised that your clunker ain't clunking the way she thought it was gonna clunk. Baby, I am mad. Okay, I am mad for Eugene. Okay, working himself into the ground like that. And then you on TV talking about making this man look crazy. I just don't get it. I ain't like it. Okay. I ain't like it. Anyway, quad we learn is, taking care of her business several times a day. If for those of you guys who are wondering, okay, if you care. Simone tries to advise her, don't be doing that too much because it's gonna, make it difficult for the man to clonk like you want him to clonk. And Dr. Heaven and Toya says, no, I'm gonna make him work harder. Okay, so now this is what you want. You want this man that is working himself to his fingers to the bone, to the grindstone. Then you want to make him have to work harder on you. You want to make it harder for him to clunk when that man been working 12 hours out of a day? I don't understand. I don't understand. See, to me, I don't like it. I do not like it. And I know it's all in the spirit of fun and games, but Toya, you made me mad on this episode, baby. You made me mad on this episode, but you look good in this photograph right here. Okay. You does look good. I mean, this is Toya all day. To me, in my mind, Toya is relaxed and just as, I imagine Toya's life to be just, I just sits around and I drink mimosas and I eat my bonbons. I get my massages twice a day. I plays my tennis. When I send these kids off to school, it's me time with me and my shower rod. Okay, not the shower rod. Lord, I'm thinking about Mimi. It's me and my shower head. So I don't know. To me, this whole thing just kind of messed me up a little bit. It messed me up, Toya. It did mess me up. Um, I think it's talk about going to the script club, and Anila asks if they're gonna tell their husbands, and Dr. Contessa says her husband's gonna be aroused. Um, which Dr. Heavenly side eyes slightly. Um, they get to the strip club, and Jackie, for some reason, I wish I had one in here. Jackie got a shawl wrapped around her, like looking like Sophia from Golden Girls. Okay, put them spectacles on. I think Toya at some point gave her a lap dance. I don't know. And Dr. Heavenly got 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 she got all the dances because the men, she got pulled up to the stage, pulled out a whip, was whipping on the men's and all kinds of things like that. Anyway, the next day, Dr. Jack is hosting a breakfast, and Dr. Heavenly arrives with the IV refresh people, so you can get your energy back up and get you some vitamins up in that body after you done had a whole night of drinking and carrying on and whatever else. Um, they sit down and conversation comes up about the videos that Dr. Heavenly was doing, and it sparks a conversation. And Dr. Simone acknowledges that they effed up with the heavenly intervention. And this prompts Dr. Heavenly to really offer a sincere, tearful apology to Dr. Contessa, and she gets emotional and they hug it out. Dr. Contessa apologizes as well, and Quad lets Dr. Heavenly know that everybody has been hurt by the videos and that it affects people when she says those things. Dr. Heavenly says that she lacks maturity and it was a coping mechanism to laugh things off when she gets uncomfortable, which everybody can understand. She does dive. Now, see, this is to me, this is the time when it's appropriate to go back into your childhood and then kind of explore your traumas that have led you to where you are today. After you have already, okay, so like this, if you get confronted with something and then you say, you know what, I hear you, I see you, I respect what you're saying, and I apologize. I am sincere about what I did wrong. I understand what I did wrong, and I understand how it hurt you. And from the bottom of my heart, I am very sorry. And then you go into, for me, this is how I learned to cope with things and how I grew up. And so this is why I responded the way that I responded the night of the intervention. To me, that's how you introduce your trauma as sort of a backdrop to your response to something. But first, you have already acknowledged how someone feels. You have already apologized. You've already gotten through what is typically for most people the toughest part, which is admitting any wrongdoing. Once you do that, to me, then it is okay and appropriate to then go back and give further explanation because you've already addressed the main issue at hand. That's how you do it. Okay. Um, at the end of the day, Toya says she doesn't trust that, you know, that Dr. Heavenly has changed any. But Heavenly tells her, my actions will show you. Okay. My actions will show you. And then Dr. Heavenly jokes about how much she enjoyed talking about the ladies, and everybody laughs it off. And it is really the end of a fun filled trip, a trip that moved the needle forward within the friendship group and the storylines and the story. And now we move into the second half of the season where we will be introduced to some new drama as well as some lingering drama betwixt Audra and Toya. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Did you feel how I felt about the things that Toya was saying? Because when I looked at the totality of everything that was said last night, I was just so disappointed in Toya. And I am sure that she did not mean to do what she did, but it had an impact. And I just don't think she realized the impact of her words. It became an overshare. But again, y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comment section down below. I will catch you guys in the next video.